Math is a wonderful thing. Math is a really cool thing.
Alright, so far we have learned how to find the solution of a given quadratic equation using factoring. Now remember, whenever we find the solution set of a quadratic equation, it means that we are looking for the x-intercepts, roots, zeros. They mean the same thing. Okay? So let's have one more example. So we are going to find the solution set of this quadratic equation, and we are going to use factoring. So again, we are going to make the right side equal to 0. So we subtract 2 to both sides. You will have k squared plus 7k plus 6 equals 0. So we are going to solve this quadratic equation. We are looking for the values of k so that this will be equal to 0. So we are going to use factoring. Let's find factors of 6 that will give us a sum of 7. So we can use 6 and 1. So 6 times 1 is 6. And when you add 6 and 1, you are going to get 7. So the factors will be k plus 6, k plus 1 equals 0. From here, we will be able to find the solution by using our zero product property. If the product is 0, it means that one of the factors will be equal to 0. So it is possible that k plus 6 is equal to 0. It means that your k will be equal to negative 6, or k plus 1 is equal to 0, meaning your k is equal to negative 1. So your solution set, or your x-intercepts, or your roots or zeros will be negative 6, negative 1. And again, it doesn't really matter how we write the solution. The order does not really matter here. Alright, so there we go. This is the solution for k squared plus 7k plus 8 equals 2. Alright, next problem. Let's find the solution of 6n squared minus 15 equals 0. Again, as of right now, the only method that we know in finding the solution is using factoring. So with this problem, it seems like we have a GCF. So let's bring out our GCF 3. We'll get 2n squared minus 5 equals 0. Now we have using zero product property, it means that 3 is equal to 0, or 2n squared minus 5 is equal to 0. Now, of course, 3 will never be equal to 0, so we can just disregard this. Now, with this 2n squared minus 5 equals 0, we don't know what to do next. As of right now, what we know is using factoring, but one of the factors is still a quadratic equation. It's 2n squared minus 5. And we do not know how to solve the n here as of right now. So how are we going to find the solution? Okay. Um, well, we have another method. Instead of using factoring, we are going to use a formula to solve for solution, roots, zeros, or x-intercepts. The formula is what we call quadratic formula. Now this formula will only be used if we have ax squared plus bx plus c. So this will be the formula that we are going to use. Now remember, it is very important that your a is not equal to 0. Okay, it's possible that your b is equal to 0 or your c is equal to 0, but a should not be equal to 0. All right, so if we have ax squared plus bx plus c, we can solve for the solution using this formula. Okay, negative of whatever your b is plus and minus the square root of your b squared minus 4 times a times c, everything divided by twice of your a. So this is a very straightforward formula. As long as we know what's our A, what's our B, and our C, we can just plug it in and we will be able to get the solution. Okay, so using this formula, we are not going to use factors anymore. We will be able to get our solution by merely using this formula. All right, let's have our first example. All right, let's use quadratic formula to find the solution for 5x squared plus 2x minus 7. First, we will identify your a, b, and c. So a is the coefficient of your x squared, b is positive 2, and c is equal to negative 7. And then we are going to use this formula. My suggestion is leave the b, the a, and the c blank, and then we will plug in our b. For example, it's equal to 2. This is b equals 2, a equals 5, and c equals negative 7, and then my a is equal to 5. Next, you will have, so let's simplify first inside the parentheses. Remember, we are still using our order of operations. Square root is symbols of grouping. So we are going to simplify first this expression. So 2 squared is 4. Then we just have to multiply 4 by 5 by negative 7. So we are going to get 144 inside the square root. So let's show how to get 144. So we just have to do 2 squared minus 4 times 5 times a negative 7, and this will give me a positive 144. And then we take the square root of 144, shift x squared 144, and we are going to get 12. So we have negative 2 plus and minus 12 divided by 10. Now, this plus and minus means you will have to add first and then subtract later on. So let's start by adding. So negative 2 plus 12, that will give us 10 divided by 10, which will give us 1. And then when you subtract negative 2 minus 12, you will get negative 14 divided by 10. So this one is just equal to 1, and then this is negative 7 over 5. Now this will now be your roots, solution or zeros, solution set. So you can write this as inside the curly braces, or we can also say these are your x-intercepts. So using the quadratic formula, we were able to find the roots, zeros, solutions, or x-intercepts without even getting the factors first. Okay, so that's our first example on how to use quadratic formula to solve for your roots or zeros. Okay, let's have more example. All right, so if we have x squared minus 8x minus 16 equals negative 32. So you want the right side to be equal to 0, so you add 32 to both sides. And we will have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. So here we identify your a, b, and c. A equals 1, b equals negative 8, c equals positive 16. So make sure that the exponent of your x is in descending order, right? Your a is always the coefficient of your x squared. Your b is always the coefficient of your x. And make sure that you include whatever the sign of your b. In this case, we have a negative 8. And then c is your constant. Alright, so I have a equals 1, b equals negative 8, c equals 16. Now using this formula, replace your b by 1, replace b by negative 8, a by 1, and c by 16. So just plug in, you will get this. Note that your 8 here is now positive. All right, just be careful with negative of a negative 8. So when you replace your b by negative 8, you will have negative 8. This is also negative 8. A is 1. C is equal to 16. And of course, our A is also equal to 1. So negative of negative 8 is equal to positive 8 plus and minus negative 8 squared. Now remember, when you are using your calculator to solve for negative 8 squared, make sure that you include the parentheses. Okay, negative 8 squared positive 64. Right? So negative 8 squared is positive 64. And then if you are going to multiply 4, 1, and 16, it will also be equal to 64. So that's 64, and this is 64. So 64 minus 64 will be equal to 0. Right? So square root of 0 is just 0. So 8 plus 0 divided by 2 will give us 4. And then 8 minus 0 divided by 2 will also give us 4. Okay? So in this case, our zeros or solution is equal to 4. If you have the same value of your roots, we are going to say that 4 is a double root. All right. Third question. 2x squared minus 23x plus 22 equals 10. I need you to pause the video and solve for the roots or zeros of this quadratic equation. Alright, so the solution should be, you should be able to get 11 and 1/2. Alright, so this will be your roots and your zeros or your solution set or your x-intercepts. Okay, next, again pause the video and solve for this quadratic equation. Alright, the answer should be Alright, next, solve for 2x squared plus 2x minus 12. Again, please pause the video and try to practice solving for the roots using quadratic formula. Alright, the answer should be 2 and negative 3. Alright, next, let's find the solution set of this quadratic equation. X squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Now let's try to use factoring in solving for the solution of this quadratic equation. So we don't have a GCF. We have a trinomial, so we are going to use our trinomial. Let's find factors of 2 that will give us a sum of 4. So let's try to list all the factors of 2. We have, well, 2 times 1 only. So it seems like we will not be able to find factors of 2 that will give us a sum of 4. And then, of course, based from what we have learned, we are going to say that this is a prime expression. Okay? And then, because it's prime, there's no way for us to find the solution or the zeros or the x-intercepts. Okay? So that's one of the limitations of factoring. But using quadratic formula, we will be able to find a solution for this quadratic equation. So first, let's identify your A, B, and C. Your A equals 1, B equals 4, and C equals 2. Now let's use our quadratic formula. Replace your B by 4, A by 1, and then C by 2. Alright, now when you simplify 4 squared, that will just give you 16. minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 2 is 8. Now 16 minus 8 will give us 8. So inside the radical sign or your square root, you will have your 8. And then since square root of 8, 8 is not a perfect square, so let's try to separate our negative 4 and your square root of 8. So we can rewrite this as negative 4 plus square root of 8 divided by 2 and negative 4 minus square root of 8 divided by 2. Now, when you simplify square root of 8, you will have square root of 8 is equal to, all right, 2.83. Negative 4 plus 2.83 divided by 2, and then when you add negative 4 by 2.83, we are going to get negative 1.17 divided by 2. We will have negative 0.585. Okay, next, if we are going to simplify this, we'll have negative 4 minus, again we said that square root of 8 is 2.83 divided by 2. So negative 4 minus 2.83 is equal to negative 6.83 divided by 2. We are going to get negative 3.415. Okay, so using quadratic equation, we were able to find the solution or the x-intercepts or the zeros of x squared plus 4x plus 2. Okay, so this is one of the advantages of using your quadratic formula. So using factoring, as you notice, we were not able to find the solution of x squared plus 4x plus 2. Okay, but using quadratic formula, we're able to find the two solutions. All right, let's have our last example. Let's find the solution of this quadratic equation using quadratic formula. First, let's identify our a. B is 3, c equals 2, and then we are going to set up our formula, negative of our b plus and minus b squared minus 4 times a times c. So divided by 2 divided by a. Alright, let's plug in negative b, or b is equal to 3, b squared, so 3 squared minus 4a is 8, c equals 2, and then 2 times a is equal to 8. So negative of 3 is negative 3 plus and minus, that's 9 minus, well, 4 times 8 will get 32 times 2 will give us 64 divided by 16. Now let's simplify inside the radical sign. 9 minus 64 will give us negative 55 divided by 16. Now I want you to pay attention inside our square root. If inside your square root is a negative number, it means that we don't have any solution. Okay, in the set of real numbers, we are going to say that we don't have a solution. Okay, as of right now in algebra 1, the biggest set of number that we have is a set of real numbers. Okay, and a square root of a negative number is not defined in the set of real numbers. So let's check. If you are going to get square root of negative 55, you are going to get an error. Okay, but of course, we have a bigger set, a set that is bigger than real numbers. Okay, and that set is our complex numbers. You are going to learn more about complex numbers when you take algebra 2. All right, so there we go. This is the procedure on how to use quadratic formula to find the solution set of a given quadratic equation.
Math is a wonderful thing. Math is a really cool thing.